Hi guys, it's Emily, and today I'm here to bring you the first 3 books that I read in September. The first book that I have read in September is Surprised by Oxford by Carolyn Weber. This is a memoir of her time at Oxford University in England. Weber is from Canada, and she grows up in sort of a poor family where her father is absent for long periods and then he shows up unexpectedly. And so she has to work really hard to put herself through school. And then she wins a nationwide Canadian scholarship to go to Oxford. And when she's there, she becomes a Christian. And so this is sort of like a detailing of her conversion from, not really believing in God that much to being a full-fledged Christian. This was an interesting book. It's very intellectual because Carolyn Weber is, has a doctorate of philosophy from Oxford. And so she's very well read in the romantics writers and just biblical scholars. And so there's a lot of references to very obscure writers and, not obscure per se, but writers that you wouldn't necessarily have a lot of contact with if you were a regular person. I found myself looking up a lot of her allusions to various writers, and I'm an English minor and, a history major, so I know some stuff about romantic writers, but clearly I'm not on her level. The one thing that was kind of weird about this book was she says right at the beginning that this is a memoir, but she also says that she has combined conversations and combined characters or combined real people in her life to make characters. And it was just you could tell that it wasn't, it's just once you read that it's not completely what happened, it's been condensed, you're well, did this conversation really take place? Or is it just a combination of various things? It was just, I don't know, it bothered me that she didn't just write it as it really happened, I don't know. And the setting of this book is really, really cool. Oxford is a very romantic place in history, and, she gives a lot of great details about the scenery of Oxford and, how the academics are like. And she also she talked a lot about her friends, and then specifically she talked about her future husband in this book because they meet, and the future husband, he's referred to as tall, dark, and handsome, or TDH. So TDH is, sort of the person who introduces her to Christianity, and then over the period of her 2 years at Oxford, she becomes a full-fledged Christian. It's very interesting because she talks about the difficulties of being a Christian in academia and a Christian woman who's trying to make a successful career. And it's very interesting because she talked about how almost every one of her professors at Oxford was a Christian. And, that's sort of contradictory to what it says in the press about how academia and Christianity are sort of at odds. So I found that kind of interesting that she had so many good Christian role models at Oxford. I would recommend this book if you're interested in reading a good conversion story. Like I say, there are a lot of references or allusions to things that are sort of obscure, so you might need to have your phone ready to look up things, or if you're on your Kindle like I was, you can just, go to the Wikipedia on there or whatever. But anyway, yeah, it was a really interesting read, and I highly recommend it. The next book I read in September was Heartburn by Nora Ephron. I read this in 2 days. It's a very short read, less than 200 pages. It details the lives of Rachel, who is a cookbook writer, and then her husband Mark, who is a newspaper columnist, and they live in Washington, D.C., and Rachel's originally from New York. And she finds out that Mark is cheating on her, and then she goes to New York to get away, and it's sort of about how she goes back to Mark and then realizes, she really needs to get rid of Mark for good. This is fiction, but it's based on Nora Ephron's real life, her experiences with Rob Reiner, who left her for another woman. So it's sort of biographical in that sense, even though it's a fiction work. I didn't actually enjoy that book that much. I thought it was very dated. It was published in 1983, and there's just a lot of references to things that, nowadays you can't relate to. Like, for example, they take this plane back and forth between New York and Washington, D.C., and, in 1983, you could just get on the plane and then, pay for your tickets after you got on, and you, didn't have to tell them who you were, or, it was just very interesting. And I feel like this book is full of, rich people problems, and you're just why should I care about people who are filthy rich? That they're it's just dumb. And Rachel's in group therapy and in New York, and so she details that, and that part's really funny because the members of her group are also eccentric and weird, and so that part is pretty funny. But on the whole, I didn't really think this book was that much fun or interesting, and I am planning to watch the movie though, because I actually, the day after I finished this book, I was in my dad's study, and he had the VHS version of Heartburn on his shelf in his study, and it had been apparently it's been there forever, and I just never noticed it until after I read the book, and I was like, oh my goodness, we need to read this, or watch this, and my dad was like, I've never seen that, I don't even know where that came from, and I was like, we're totally watching that. So yeah, eventually we're gonna watch Heartburn and compare it to the book. The third book I read in September was The Revolving Door of Life, which is by Alexander McCall Smith. This is the 10th book from the 44 Scotland Street series, and I read the 9th book last month, and so now I have one more left, the 11th book, but my local library doesn't have it. I got this book from the library, and I also got Heartburn from the library. So the Revolving Door of Life is, a continuation of what's going on before. All the same characters, and they're having their issues. Birdie, the 7-year-old, who's sort of the main character, his mother went to, Saudi Arabia, I guess, on a trip because she had won this contest, and she got kidnapped. Well, not really kidnapped. There was a miscommunication, and she got taken as the wife of this official in the Saudi Arabian government, basically. And so Birdie's at home with his father and his brother, and so his grandmother comes, and it's about what happens when his grandmother's there and how there's conflict. And then there's Pat, who is a young college student who works at the art gallery. Her father has a new fiance that Pat doesn't approve of, and so part of the book is about a scheme that she has created to get the new fiance out of her father's life. And then there's Angus and Domenica are having issues with a guest that's come to stay. There's just really cute vignettes about the lives of the members of the 44 Scotland Street apartment building. So yeah, those are the first 3 books I read in September, and I enjoyed all 3 of them. I'm currently working on a few more books, and I will have another video for you soon. I hope everybody's having a great September so far, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.